Let us look at one more example. This is the UI wireframe for the second example. We have two buttons here. The first button's label is switch off and the second button's label is switch on. When the switch off button is clicked, we want to show an alert with the message off, and similarly when we click on the switch on button, we want to show an alert with the message on. So our UI just consists of two buttons, so let's implement that. I have selected the handling events folder and I'm going to add a new file to that, and I'm going to call this lamp_alert.js. It is going to be a function component, so it has to return some JSX. So let's write our return keyword, and we have to write our JSX now. Our UI consists of two buttons with the labels switch off and switch on. So let's write that. Let's add a empty root tag and a closing empty root tag as well. And let's write our JSX for our buttons. Button on click equals handle on. Let's give this button a label switch on, and let's do the same for off. So off and switch off. And now we have to define these functions. So let's define handle on. Const handle on equals, let's make it an arrow function, and it should say alert on. Similarly, let's make handle off also an arrow function, and in the alert we should show off, and we need to export this function in order to use it within app.js. So let's export it as export default lamp alert, and within app.js I'm going to comment out our click alert import statement and also our return statement, which is returning click alert, and I'm going to write return lamp alert. And if you observe, even before I have placed the closing tag, VS Code has put this import statement for us. Let me close this lamp alert tag and let us look at the output. Let us add some space between these buttons. So let me go to lamp_alert.js and I'm going to add some space like this. Within curly braces, I have specified some space, and as you can see, we have some space between the buttons now. Let me click on the switch on button, and we can see that we have an alert over here and the message is on. And let me click on the switch off button, and as you can see, we have an alert with the message off. Coming back to our code, here we are using two event handlers, handle on for one of the buttons and handle off for the other button. We can write this code in another way using only one event handler. So let's try that. So I'm going to comment these two lines of code, and I'm going to write a new function called const handle on off, and that will take in a parameter called status, and in the function body we'll just show an alert with the status. So we have a new function called handle on off. It takes in one parameter called status, and the function body has only one line of code, which is an alert statement with the status that has been passed in as the parameter. So instead of handle on and handle off, let's use handle on off. So I'm going to replace handle on with handle on off. So I have replaced that now, and we want to specify on over here like this. However, this is not a function definition. This is a function call, and like we have been discussing, within the curly braces over here we have to specify a function definition. So all we have to do to convert this into a function definition is we can just pass in an arrow function like this, and now this is a function definition. So now this will work. Let's do the same for handle off. We want to replace handle off with handle on off. So I have done that, and I'm going to specify off, and to make this a function definition we have to make this an arrow function. So now we have created a new function called handle on off, and we have called this function within an arrow function that we passed in as the event handler here, and similarly over here. Here we have passed in a value of on as the status, and here we have passed in a value of off as the status. Let's look at the output to see if it's working. Let me click on switch on, and as you can see we have the alert showing up with the message on like before. Let's click on switch off, and as you can see we have the alert showing up with the message off just like before. So the important point to note is that for React events, within these curly braces, when we want to specify our event handlers, we should remember that we want to specify the entire function definition, not just a function call. By the way, we can also specify a traditional function definition here. For example, instead of this arrow function, we can write function, and we can use an anonymous function, and we can specify the traditional function definition like this. Let's see if this works. I'm going to click on switch on, and as you can see, the example is working just like before. So here we have a traditional function definition, and here we have an arrow function definition. Both of them will work.